What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Budhole Podcast, episode number 137. This is your fantasy week 2 wrap-up and week 3 look-ahead for the 2020-21 NFL season. This podcast is brought to you by Shock Fantasy. We'd like to give a special thank you to Matt Harrison, who joined us on our mailbag this past Sunday. And he also hooked us up fat. He gave us, when I say us, I mean you, the listeners, a Shock Fantasy promo code of Budhole. So if you head on over to shockfantasy.com and sign up today using promo code Budhole, you'll get the amazing Dynasty Player Values chart, which he updates regularly throughout the season, as well as daily fantasy information for as little as $25 for the entire year. That is 6.9 cents per day. Thank you again, Matt. Make sure to use promo code Budhole when you sign up over at Shock Fantasy.
It's also almost 50% off.
It is. It's 30. It's like 35% off. Also, we are brought to you by none other than Thrive Fantasy, who's been absolutely killing it this football season. They've given away thousands of dollars, and I've made plenty of money on them as well. If you head over to Thrive Fantasy today, that's thrivefantasy.com, and you sign up using the promo code BUD, that's B-U-D, use promo code BUD. If you put in a $20 deposit today, they will match you with a $50 match. You put in $20, they'll give you $50, and you'll be off and running on their daily fantasy, which is quite literally prop bets. So you bet on the Vegas lines for the games, specific players, and you gain points based off of that, and you get money at the end, assuming you pick well. With that being said, welcome to the podcast, guys. How's it going?
Man,
going great.
Nice to see you guys again.
How's it going for you guys?
Nice to see you guys again.
We have a special lineup tonight, including top injuries of the weekend, which we all know there was plenty. We did touch on it a little bit in episode 136, but we're going to give you the real ramifications from a fantasy perspective on this podcast episode. We'll also be doing a mailbag review, which we did the mailbag on Sunday. It was pushed across to all of our social media platforms, so you can go check it out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. It was a mailbag segment where we hop on every morning, give you some studs and duds for the week, answer some listener questions. It's been fun to do for the first 2 weeks, and we will continue doing it throughout the season.
Yeah, you guys,
Stats are kind of like fool's gold. It doesn't really tell the whole story.
No, there's way more to it than that. There's way more to it. Also, we're going to be doing reviews and previews, so reviews of the past week. Gage has his own shoulders to pat a little bit, tout himself a little bit. We'll get into that. And then Gage will also hold his segment of the Fantasy Podcast weekly, buyers buy, sellers sell. Make sure to check that out later on in the podcast. And then we'll get into our Bud Plugs of the week, brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. And we will round it out with Brandon's Budhole 5, of which I will stake a claim on. I am the only Budhole member here that has won the live version of the Budhole 5. So, booyah.
I do to make last place feel better.
Hey, man, you got to take what you can get. It's kind of like, Philip Rivers dancing up the sideline and Holton Hill laying him out. You got to do what you got to do.
Fair enough.
Oh, wait, Holton Hill didn't do that.
Yeah, you gotta do what you want.
What if he didn't, though? Imagine you're Holton Hill, and you're running up to lay him out, and Rivers just drops a shoulder and fucks him up. You saw Josh Allen's run, didn't you?
God, he's a monster.
That was embarrassing. That was Kyle Van Noy, too. That was a top-tier linebacker.
And Van Noy was hurt. He was concussed before he hit the ground, man. Did you see his arms go limp and fall?
No, I know Van Noy got fucked up. I just don't think Van Noy is a top-tier linebacker. I think he's really good. Whatever. Not worth arguing over.
Big deal in the offseason.
Yeah, I know, but the Dolphins had a lot of money to spend.
Herbert had a big hit on Damian Wilson, too.
That is true. That hit was money.
We'll hear about Herbert later.
How about you guys ready to jump into some injuries for the week?
Not ready.
I mean, should we have an hour?
No shit. We'll try and blaze through it as fast as possible, but there's a lot of big deals. We'll start it out by saying arguably the top 3 fantasy picks in any league that you did all got injured this weekend, and for sure the top 2. The number 1 consensus pick in fantasy football, Christian McCaffrey, goes down with a high ankle sprain. the dreaded high ankle sprain. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And if it's anything like Saquon Barkley's high ankle sprain last year, he's not going to be right the rest of the year. So he's definitely a guy to monitor. Mike Davis, I am mashing the Mike Davis button. Go pick that guy up. He's the only substitute for McCaffrey, and he is the clear-cut starter while McCaffrey's out. Injury number 2, Saquon Barkley, done for the year, ACL. That's a tough blow for fantasy owners. What do you guys have to say about those two specifically?
Yeah, I mean, McCaffrey out, what was it, 4 to 6 weeks is what the determination is. I could see it being longer than that. Just kind of depends on how their season goes. I mean, if they're not in it, there's no sense in rushing them back. So you could see this lingering a little bit farther. I don't know what their bye week is off the top of my head. So I don't know if that kind of plays into things a little bit. It might be week 10. Otherwise, he seems optimistic about it. I heard an interview today. He said it's a goal. That's a timeline, and he wants to beat that. So that's good news. At least he's optimistic. But, yeah, like Barkley last year, he wasn't the same running back.
They do have a week 13 bye.
Week 13, so, yeah, maybe he comes back sooner. I don't know. It just depends. Again, if they're not in contention, no sense in rushing your star player back and having issues.
Oh, look at this. We have a listener question here right off the bat. This is crazy. Brandon wants to know, Scott, who did you take at pick 2? Well, this is a little bit of a catch-22. And thank you, Brandon, for asking, because it does lead into our third big injury of the week. Devontae Adams goes down with a hamstring injury. I have not heard how severe it is, but hamstrings and wide receivers are a little bit sketchy. But, yeah, I drafted Devontae Adams with pick 2, but I kind of had to.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Who did I draft?
You took Michael Thomas with pick 2.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about that. Yeah, fuck. I thought I drank that away this weekend. And here it is back. Yeah. You win some, you lose some, boys. That's a brutal, brutal beat. Nonetheless, Devontae Adams also got hurt. Hamstring injury. I haven't heard how big of a deal it is. It sounds like he could have came back, but they were winning by so much that they didn't need him to.
Less serious.
Yeah.
Injury number 4 on the board as far as injuries go. Cortland Sutton tore his ACL, and Drew Lock also has an AC joint shoulder injury, both Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are just getting nailed. Fuck you, Brandon.
What?
Yeah, the Broncos are getting nailed this year with injuries. The injury bug has bitten the Broncos.
Yeah, Von Miller obviously going down before the season started. That's rough. Lindsey out. Sutton done for the year. Lock a minimum of 2 weeks is what I heard. Bad pick in the pick'em draft, tell you that much.
True.
But I do think, depending on Lock, when he comes back, obviously Sutton going down, that means no Fant. I think his targets are going to increase. Who's their back right now? Is it Drake?
Jerry Judy's their number 2.
Quarterback.
Then Driscoll.
It's Driscoll, Jeff Driscoll. Yep.
So I think Judy, KJ Hamler, and Noah Fant stock should all rise with that injury. And we just got news. It's confirmed Solomon Thomas tore his ACL too, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I mean, Fant looks really good. With Lock in there, I could see him he's for sure a top 10 tight end, but maybe a top 5 the way he was playing. I don't know if that necessarily fades away because he's a big target and tight ends are safety blankets. So I can see Fant still being a very viable player.
Yeah, I think a guy to look for if you're in a little bit deeper league format is KJ Hamler. I think he has a real opportunity here for some action as a rookie in Denver. But with Jeff Driscoll throwing the ball, if he continues to play like he did when he came in for an injured Drew Lock, there's going to be some fantasy relevancy for sure in that offense.
And let's not fade Melvin Gordon. With he going down, Gordon is going to be a good pickup as well if you don't already have him. First week, even with Lindsey, he had 78 yards on 15 rushes and a touchdown. This week, he had 70 yards, no touchdowns, but he had 2 receptions as well for 14 yards. So his input.
He caught what Brandon into.
Yeah, last week he had 2. This week he had 1. So I think Melvin Gordon is going to be primed for an uptick in carries and targets in the running back position.
Yep, I would agree with you. The next big injury of the week is another twofold injury, and we'll get into 3. If you do play in defensive fantasy leagues, you have Mostert with a sprained MCL. He'll be out multiple weeks. You have Garoppolo with a high ankle sprain, so he'll be out multiple weeks. And you have 2 defensive linemen for the 49ers go down for the rest of the year with Bosa and Thomas. The 49ers are getting ravaged with injuries.
Bad. But, I mean, I didn't think that they were necessarily going to repeat what they did last year. So it's a little bit of an excuse for them with all the injuries, even though I think they were going to take a step back. I don't know what you guys think, but there's not a lot of players on that team that I'm really digging. Maybe McKinnon, with Mostert being banged up. McKinnon looked good. I think he had a 55-yard run on a 3rd and 31 for a first down. So that was impressive. Maybe less impressive on the Jets. But another thing to look at is they are playing at MetLife Stadium again this week. And the field was terrible last week. They're going there again. I think they're going to play a little bit more cautiously, especially after losing 4 players last week.
2, I want to piggyback off that regarding McKinnon. Tevin Coleman also got hurt in that game. It's not going to be a multiple week thing, I don't think, but it could be 1 or 2. So Jerick McKinnon could definitely be somebody you look at to get by for the next couple of weeks.
If I was going to circle one player in that offense, I'd probably circle Jerick McKinnon.
Circle Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
To other injuries, Tyrod Taylor with a chest injury was a late scratch for the game against the Chiefs. Justin Herbert came in, relieved him nicely. Gage, we will succeed. We'll give the floor to you to talk up Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert came in. He didn't know he was going to be the starter prepping for the Super Bowl champs. Got the start late, and the first drive looked pretty electric. They were using him in both assets of the game. He was running, he was passing. Scored his first touchdown on the ground. Very nice play action draw. If they started, planning for Herbert and using that option to the best of its ability with him, I think this team could be very, very good. So
his 311 yards was the 4th highest ever for a rookie debut, not just in their first season, ever for a debut game, 311 yards, 4th highest.
Wow. Yeah, he got the rushing touchdown. He got the passing touchdown. He threw his first interception. I think
got that out of the way.
He learned a lot of stuff. He did some rookie moves, running across the field and throwing across your body. That one was his pick. I think he also missed a pretty wide open target later in the game. But what it takes to be an NFL quarterback.
I think there's 4. Sorry, Brandon, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say that when Tyrod started, they played a bad Bengals team, and they barely won, and it's a game that they probably should have lost. I mean, that push-off call was a little iffy, but nonetheless, it was a close game against a bad team. This was a close game with a high chance of winning it. That was, a Harrison Butker amazing 3 50-plus yard field goals in a row to win that game, essentially, away from beating arguably the best team in the NFL. In your debut, taking that team out there, and then also, again, 311 yards. I think, don't fact-check this, but he might have been the only rookie to score a passing and rushing touchdown in the first half of his debut.
Also, I will say in overtime, I was watching the game, and they did get the ball first. It got down to, I think it was 4th and 1 or 4th and a long one around midfield. And I think if it's his second week or on, if it's Tyrod Taylor, they may go for that. But as soon as they punted that ball away, you knew that the Chiefs Super Bowl MVP were coming back.
The other thing I want to say, too, though, with Herbert being the quarterback over Tyrod Taylor, I think it really gives fantasy relevancy to 4 weapons on that offense. Keenan Allen, I feel like, is once again relevant. Hunter Henry, too. He's obviously relevant. Herbert loved him. But then I think, too, Joshua Kelly and Austin Eckler in the backfield, those two are definitely – their stock is going up with Herbert as the quarterback. And the biggest reason is he just was very efficient, and he looked for the guys that are real playmakers, and those are the big four playmakers on that team.
Yeah, I love the targets going to Keenan Allen right away with the rookie.
Yep. Sorry, Gage. Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Perfect.
So the other injuries, Paris Campbell tore his ACL against the Vikings. We all saw it. I knew it was a torn ACL right away. It was just a weird little thing with his knee. That's a tough beat for a lot of people that use him as a flex player. He was a nice flex. So I think the guy to look to in that offense would be, what's his name?
Mo Alley Cox?
No, Mo Alley Cox at tight end could be a streamer, though. But who the hell was the
Michael Pittman?
No, he's a flex guy.
T.Y. Hilton.
No.
You sure it's not Michael Pittman?
Positive. I'll get it here in a second. If you guys just want to stall for me.
Oh, Zach Pascal.
Pascal?
Yes, Zach Pascal. Yep, Zach Pascal is the guy to
Good job, Brandon. Nice.
With the other big injury, which the last big injury is near and dear to Gage's heart. Sorry, Brandon, go.
Was Pascal a torn ACL or was it a strained PCL? And he's he's out indefinitely.
Pascal or Paris Campbell? Paris Campbell is a torn ACL.
Are you sure?
That's what I saw in the injury report when I looked today.
Okay. I thought I saw an update earlier. Don't fact check me, but I thought it was a strained PCL. Campbell suffered a PCL injury, which will sideline him indefinitely.
Yeah, it does. Okay. Yep.
It was at noon.
So then I must not have been looking. I looked this morning on my morning break. But nonetheless, Paris Campbell is definitely going to be out a while. Where is the next injury? The last one is Will Fuller, hamstring injury. That's a bad beat for Gage. I don't think you have any stocks of him in fantasy without being in the Dynasty League, but that's
I have been holding on to him for a long time in that Dynasty League.
Yeah, Will Fuller in the injury history is a real thing. So that kind of wraps up the week 2 injuries. If there's any other ones you guys want to highlight, take the floor now.
Did we talk about the defensive injuries on the Niners? You mentioned Solomon Thomas and
Bosa.
I
think you missed Garoppolo in that injury.
No, he was there.
Okay.
The other thing, I guess not huge, but Bruce Irvin also tore his ACL this week as well. So he's out. Malik Hooker for the Colts, I think, is out for the year with the Achilles injury.
Anthony Barr.
Barr is out with torn pec. I mean, it's
So
one.
if you're thinking about starting the Vikings on defense for fantasy football, put down the weed. All right? Thank you.
I don't think there could be a better lead into Gage's rage is buyers buy, sellers sell than that. Gage's rage, take the floor.
All right, so real quick, I just want to pat myself on the back. Last week I told you to buy Calvin Ridley, buy Kyler Murray, buy Josh Jacobs. We don't know about Jacobs yet, but the other two were solid. I also told you to sell Devontae Adams. Hurt, get 6 points. I told you to sell Raheem Mostert. If you could have sold him before he got hurt, that would have paid off. And I also told you to sell Deshaun Watson, who just lost his number 1 target. Looked like crap. I'm on fire right now, boys, for buyers, buy, and sellers sell. Rolling into week 2, I like the rookies. I like the rookie Justin Herbert a lot. I wish you could go in there and buy him up, but hopefully someone was smart and picked him up before you. If you could, invest in Joe Burrow. He was 20th overall quarterback in week 1, jumped all the way up to number 9 in week 2. I see good things coming for the Cincinnati rookie. He's figuring it out week by week. Look out for him in the passing game. For my buyers in the running game, obviously we have a lot of options with McCaffrey and Saquon going down with some pretty major injuries. The guy I like the most is Deion Lewis, though. In Chicago versus the G-Men, it was a pretty good matchup, and he was used a ton in the passing game. He was the number 1 option after Saquon went out. I liked him a lot. Another guy I really think you should invest in is Melvin Gordon. Obviously, with Sutton going down, Brandon mentioned that. Look for the young quarterback to lean on his running back game a lot.
Also, Locke is out, so you have a backup quarterback, and Lindsey was out this week. I don't know his status, but
it's murky at best.
Mm-hmm.
In the wide receiver game, it's kind of it's tough out there. I'll just say that. One guy I'm really warming up to, it's not a full buy right now, but I like John Brown. If Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are going to be as active in the passing game as they want to be to win games, I think John Brown is going to be a pivotal part in that offense. And if he's scoring, it's a good week. If he's not scoring, it's not a good week. But he's scoring right now, so go attack him if you can. Now my sellers list. I'm going to sell Fournette. He had a pop-out week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. You haven't convinced me, though. If you can convince someone else in your league, go ahead and try and sell him. Not for me. My next sell at wide receiver, this one I'm not fully convincing myself just yet, but Julian Edelman with the Patriots. He's got Cam Newton throwing in the ball, and I don't know. I just not completely sold on Cam being a pocket passer, hitting Edelman for over 10 targets a week and getting him over 100 yards every week. He's definitely going to have some down weeks. If you could sell someone that he's a top 10 wide receiver and get something for him, I'd be all in for that. And my QB sell of the week, kind of had the boys rolling on this one, but Lamar Jackson. If you drafted him at your quarterback 2 position in the 3rd round, like a lot of people did, you're disappointed right now. And I don't know if maybe the NFL figured him out, if defenses are getting faster and it covers the running quarterback a little bit better. But he went up against the Houston Texans team that he should have wiped the floor with. And he didn't look like it. He didn't look like the MVP of the league last year. So he had the 4 passing touchdowns in week 1. He backed it up with a pretty piss-poor performance. The running game kind of saved him with Dobbins and Ingram going off. Yeah. What do you guys got to say? You think those are...
The thing about Lamar Jackson is he hasn't had to do anything yet. He hasn't been put in a situation where he has to do anything. And it was similar to Kyler in the second half of his game. He went off in the first half. He did very little the second half of that game because they had such a big lead. Baltimore's been playing with the lead since last year. When he needs to come out, I think we'll see the old Lamar. I would not. You drafted him probably first or second quarterback. 2 weeks is too early to give up on a person like Lamar Jackson.
I would agree. Edelman, to wrap up what you said, he had 8 grabs for 179 yards this week. That's not going to happen every week. He might have 8 grabs for like 100 and a score, which will probably average out to be about the fantasy aspect of that. You know, and the score might come every other week or something like that too, because N'Keal Harry was getting targets as well. But yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of a sell high candidate at the moment just because of a hell of a first week. Cam Newton, obviously, I think is a buy. In our 3 words or less last segment, Star called him comeback player of the year. And I think that's going to be true. He threw for almost 400 yards this past week. They're putting up points when they need to against good teams. And I see that continuing. For wide receiver, I think one guy to buy on, and it might be a little tough now, but kind of a poor week 1 or a down week 1, but a nice week 2, DJ Moore. I think he had 8 grabs for 120 yards. With Matt going down, he's going to see more targets and more potential to have another week like that. If he gets a score, that's almost a 30-point game. It's a hell of a week. So I like him. Robbie Anderson, I think, is another flyer to take on that offense. He's got big play potential.
What did he do this week, Robbie Anderson?
What was that?
I think he's going to do great. If I had Michael Thomas, I would trade Michael Thomas for Robbie Anderson. If that was offered to me.
Right now?
With the injury. Right, Scott?
You can go fuck yourself.
He said no. Can you believe he said no?
I can't believe it. Anderson 9 grabs, 9 yards.
70 yards.
See, I was almost on the verge of selling Anderson. I don't think this is a consistent thing he's going to do. He's averaged about 19 points a week right now.
he's a flyer on your flex.
In a
If
full
you're a guy on a bye week, you're for sure starting him. If he puts it up this third week in a row, another 8-9 grabs for 100 yards, he's definitely a flex starter every week.
He's already a borderline flex starter. He really is. I mean, you're talking about the flex. If you're looking at the possibility of 16, 17 points out of your flex, that's a no-brainer. I
would add on wide receivers. I would throw Brandon Cooks in there. 5 for 95. Will Fuller going down is definitely a big loss for them, so they're definitely going to need to pass the ball still, I think. And Brandon Cooks is primed to see a lot of those targets come his way. And then for quarterback, if you didn't already pick him up after a dominating week 1, and he put up another good week 2, I think top 5 quarterback, Gardner Minshew is a hell of a pickup at quarterback if you can get him. I snagged him last week on the waiver wires. I was pretty excited about it. He might be my starter going forward with Matt Stafford as my current starter.
Did you double down and start Minshew, or did you start Stafford?
I started Stafford. I wanted to see what he would do, but he's got a very favorable next 6 weeks coming up. He plays the Dolphins. I think it's the Jets maybe. He plays the Texans twice, the Chargers. I mean, he's got a pretty favorable matchup at least 4 of the next 6 weeks. So I think he's a starter in most leagues.
I like it. Okay. So that's the Buyers Buy, Sellers Sell, hosted by none other than the aforementioned Gage's Rage. That leads us into the Bud Plug of the Week, brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. As I mentioned off the top of the cast, head over to thrivefantasy.com, deposit $20 with promo code BUD, and they will give you $50 to play with this weekend for NFL Week 3. They've already given away thousands of dollars. Get in, get your money. For the Bud Plug of the Week, Scott is touting, if you could pull it up here quick, 2 names. And actually 3, because I thought of a third as we were talking. Mike Davis. Go pick up Mike Davis. If you're a Christian McCaffrey owner, he's a guy that you should be spending whatever you need to spend to get. He's worth having. He's a good player. Number 2, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is balling out of his effing mind right now, and he's making me lose money to Gage because Ryan Tannehill, no way he loses in the QBR battle over Phillip Old Man Rivers. And the third one, based on Sunday Night Football, a guy that was overshadowed by DK Metcalf and N'Keal Harry. Cam Newton and N'Keal Harry have a clear chemistry, and N'Keal Harry is set up for a very good year moving forward. Those are my 3 Bud Plugs of the week.
I'd like to add mine. If my stats load here. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and give you Anthony Miller. Miller, was it week 2? Never mind. I'm going to go ahead and retract that.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. If you want to go on Anthony Miller rant, that's a good one. He dropped a pretty sweet pass from Minshew.
Week 2 was not good. Week 1, he put up, I think, 76 yards and a score. I think they're going to be playing from behind quite a bit, or at least in games where they're going to have to be consistently passing. And I think he's a solid number 2 target. Maybe not this week. So he's not a Bud Plug of the week.
As Bud Plugs, deep dives?
Yeah, Bud Plugs are guys that you're going to plug into your lineup and they're going to just fucking fuck that other team right over. That's a Bud Plug of the week. That's the short and skinny on it. I don't know. We're just kind of rolling with it, Star. Don't bring it up.
You're like the thick and fat. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, man. What the fuck, man?
It doesn't have to be so, in between the lines, Star. Come on.
I just didn't know if we're talking about deep dives right now or not.
No, in general, I like to do the Bud Plugs as either deep dives or guys that you haven't known about that are going to become relevant because of injury, fumbling issues for the guy ahead of them, quarterback changes, whatever it might be.
All right, well, I got a deep dive who has had a pretty decent first 2 weeks, but he is third string on his team. But number 1 and number 2 are eventually going to be all that defense is cared about. That is Russell Gage out of Atlanta. He put up 12 targets for 9 catches and 9 catches, 114 yards in week 1. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown in week 2. Calvin Ridley is not going to score multiple touchdowns every week. They're going to slow him down. Julio dropped the touchdown pass. I'm not saying he's getting old, but motherfucker's getting old. Russell Gage is going to be the person that's not covered. Russell Gage is going to reap the benefits of that high-powered offense.
The last one I'd like to add that I forgot to, Justin Watson for Tampa Bay. Look at Justin Watson. He's the slot receiver in Tampa. And as long as Godwin and Evans are hurting, Justin Watson's definitely a guy that you could look to plug into that flex position in deeper leagues. If you're in an 8-team league, don't pick up Justin Watson. Gage?
I think it was last week, Scott, you had said that Nyheim Hines was the running back that was going to get a lot of work after Marlon Mack went down.
I said, yep.
I think you're dead wrong. I think Taylor is obviously the guy to own. I think going forward, he's going to be a top 10 running back. I had his name listed in the honorable mentions of my buyer's buy. If you could get him for anything, get him because he's going to be top. He's going to be top.
To cover my own ass a little bit, I did say Nyheim Hines was going to be a top bot player on the waiver wire. That didn't necessarily mean that I liked him better than Jonathan Taylor.
I would say in a lot of leagues, JT was probably drafted, so he's not
correct
available on the waiver wire. But with Marlon Mack going down, Hines is the handcuff to have with Taylor.
But Hines was very disappointing, and he's had a history of being disappointing. So there's a reason why he wasn't drafted.
Yes.
But he was also third string, and this last week he went against a really good defense. So
that is true. Definitely not a leaky defense. Yeah. That wraps up the Bud Plug of the week. That actually brings us to the Budhole 5. Brandon, are you ready for the Budhole 5?
Oh, of course I'm ready for the Budhole 5. I'm always ready.
Dude, you'll play that little 30-second thing.
Oh, yeah. So I mixed up my two Budhole 5s. I was going to do last episodes on this episode because it's the fantasy one. But instead, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I know all of you listen, and you know how to play already. But I'm explaining the rules anyways. You have 30 seconds.
35.
To name the top 5 in whatever category I give you. You get a point for each answer correct. Doesn't matter what order you get them in. If there is a tie, we will go into a tiebreaker round, which will be the next 5. If there's a tie after that, we will then have a back and forth until somebody gets the right answer. For this one, I want you guys to name the top 5 scoring teams this week. So give me the teams that scored the most points this week. And welcome back. We are going to start out with Scott. Scott, I want you to give me, since you are the reigning champion of last Budhole 5 and the first live Budhole 5 winner of all time, give me the 5 top scoring teams of last week.
So for my top 5 scoring teams, I had the Cowboys, I had the Packers, I had the Falcons, I had the Browns, who came in at 35, and I had the Seahawks.
All right, can you name those one more time for me?
Cowboys, Packers, Falcons, Browns, Seahawks.
Okay. Gage's rage.
I had the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Falcons, the Seattle Seahawks, the Buffalo Bills, and the Green Bay Packers.
All right. And Star Lamar?
I had the Packers, Falcons, Browns, Cowboys, and Ravens.
In last place, we have Star Lamar with 4 correct.
We got a tie.
Tied for last place,
Me.
Gage's Rage with 4. Scott nailed all of them. The Packers had 42. The boys had 40. The Browns in Seattle both had 35. And Atlanta had 39.
Wow. What a fucking – that was by far the highest scoring one we've had so far.
That was the best one we've had since starting this. That was impressive.
That's good shit, boys.
For reference, Buffalo came in. They tied. So let's see, 6-7. They tied for 8th with Tampa Bay and San Francisco. They had 31, and Seattle
30.
Or no, what was the Ravens? The Ravens star said. I don't have them on my list here. Let me pull it up quick.
They were a flyer. I had to get a 5th one in.
Ravens. Damn.
Who did
How
they
many
play?
points did the Browns score?
The Texans.
They scored 33, so I guess technically they were higher than Buffalo, but they were still not in the top 5. Brown scored 35.
Gotcha.
So good job, Scott. Congratulations. Back-to-back winner. The only person to win on the live Budhole 5. I will come up with one for next episode, so we'll see if this happens again.
Oh, for the listener edition, which will be up next. That will be podcast number 138, which we'll be going live with, and it'll be a podcast as well. With that being said, as I said at the top of the show, thank you to Matt Harrison. Go to www.theshockfantasy.com. Get your year subscription to Shock Fantasy, which gives you dynasty player values updated weekly, as well as DFS advice for the low price of 6.9 cents per day for the entire year if you use promo code BUDHOLE over at shockfantasy.com. Thrive Fantasy as well. Week 3, they're ramping it up to a whole nother level. If you sign up for an account at Thrive Fantasy using promo code BUD, that's BUD, you will get, if you put $20 in, they will match you with $50. You'll have 70 spending dollars for NFL Week 3 to bet on NFL props for the week. With that being said, Star Lamar and Gage's Rage, wrap, show.
Go jerk off.
Bye.